brand new cube. Can we do it? Oh, good, he's back. All right, let's rip it up. All right. All right, we're gonna put it in exactly backwards from the way we took it out. Make sure that we do have this turned off so they don't get electrocuted. And there is the equipment that you're gonna need right there. Excellent. Hey, wow, look at brand new, huh? Well, look at the copper.
All right, so anyway, we've got the new coils, but we've got to figure out exactly which way. This little piece right here has to be welded on. So we got to look in there and see which way it goes and try to figure that out before you get on there and solder that sucker down. You want to make sure that you did it right. Measure twice, cut once, or in this case, solder once.
So what kind of gas do they use in that?
Oxygen and acetylene.
Oxylene and acetylene?
All right, so before we put the coils actually inside of the housing, what we have to do is solder or weld this little piece of copper pipe onto the bottom there. First, he's going to heat it all up, get it nice and warm, and then set her on that collar. It expands when they do that. And then we're going to put the solder. You can see he's holding it with a wrench so he doesn't burn his fingers, which is a good idea. All right, so this is like one of the most crucial things that you do, and you've got to get this weld or this solder perfect because you don't want to leak. And so you've got to go completely around the circumference of it and melt that solder on there and make sure it's nice and smooth and that there's no leaking on that connection. Otherwise, you got a problem. You got to pick the whole unit up and carefully slide it into the housing so that everything matches, and try not to hit any of your copper pipes or any of that metal on there as you drop it down. This is kind of crucial. You don't want to screw up your weld, so be very careful and make sure you get it in there perfectly. Otherwise, you could have a problem. Then we got to pull that tape off of there that we put on because that kept the bugs and the moisture. You can see that collar goes right there, so we're pretty good. Looks like we're going to be good there. And yep, we just push it right in there. Yep, that's going to work. There we go. Now it's in. And now we got to check the one up top too, make sure that one fits good. And I do believe we're good and we're ready to go. Now we just got to get our solder and our welder and put this thing together, and we should be looking good. We're checking for cracks here. He thinks he might see something there, so that could be important later. We'll check it out. And right in the middle of that little junction on that copper pipe is a valve that you've got to spin and open it up so that the flow of the coolant will go in and out into the coil, actually at the bottom down there. So that's important. Don't forget to do that. And so now he's going to light the torch, and we're going to get down there and do some serious welding or soldering, however you want to call it. It's got to heat it up, and then we're going to put the solder on. So this is very dangerous, so be careful. Do not burn yourself. Again, it's the exact same process. We're going to heat it up with the torch, and it's acetylene. And once we get it super hot, we're going to grab those long, thin wires that are the solder or the welding stuff that you put on there. And this connector here is the low pressure connector. And you can see he's slowly putting it into that collar. So as it heats, it expands and you can slip it in. And then they're going to go ahead and put the metal on it, or the weld, or what you would call the solder. You can see he's kind of bringing it right in there. And as it gets in there, it's super hot, so it's melting all around it. And he's got to get it all the way around that thing. So he's got to get underneath and all around the sides. And it looks like we got our bottom connector on. We're going to go a little bit more on this side. Yep. So this is important. This is like the most important part right here of the installation. You got to get it right. Otherwise, you got leaks, and then you got to, take the whole thing out.
It's good. That one's going to be okay. So now we got to get this one up top here.
And again, this is the same process. This is the high pressure line or copper pipe that's coming into the coils. But this one's a little bit easier to get at, as you can see. And so, you know, the first step, of course, is heating that sucker up, getting that collar to expand so that you can push that copper pipe down in there. And it's the exact same thing. And then we get the welding stuff, I guess it's solder or whatever the metal is that they're using. And we got to melt that all the way around the exterior, the circumference of that collar. You see that little collar there? You can see it melting on there. That's super hot, man. If that thing hits you, it's going to burn you. So that is very crucial, and it's kind of dangerous, I tell you the truth.
So what do you guys think?
So he's using this mirror to look around the circumference of the pipe and make sure that they've got a good weld on it.
So you double checking, making sure it's got enough solder and things locked in there. I mean, that's the crucial thing, isn't it? You got to get it good.
¿Qué tú dices? ¿Le rellenamos ahí?
So anyway, they're looking at this joint right here, and they're a little bit concerned about that. I think they want to put a little bit of solder on that one just to double check and make sure that it's got a good tight seal on it.
Oh, we're going to use a lighter this time. That thing's super hot, isn't it? I think that would burn you. You accidentally crossed. So they saw something here that they needed to get. And so he's going to put a little solder on there.
So anyway, they noticed something on this collar that comes right off the compressor. And so he's heating that up and putting some solder on it. And, you know, that might have been my leak. It might not have been the coil. Who knows? I mean, we've replaced the whole coil, and now we're doing this. This could have been what all we needed to do to begin with. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get that solder on there and try to make sure that there's no leak on this pipe, because that could be a serious problem. So you got to check all of your collars, all of your connections, all the way through all of this equipment, from the condenser to the coils.
Ahí quedó la grieta. Por eso es la que la estaba tapando.
So you saw something there that looked like it might be compromised. So that's why you have to put an extra solder on.
Está bien. Le voy a poner un pin a ver. Está bien, pero por seguridad. Está abierto. No sé por qué se abre. Calienta de atrás. Calienta siempre de atrás. Ahí. Tíratela ya. Eso se queda bien. Ya.
So how? What do you? So you were double checking all these little fittings, right?
Yeah, no problem. I got you. No
So
problem, bro.
this, so you put extra solder in there,
Yeah.
and you check this too. That's got extra solder in it.
Yeah.
And then this one over here.
Yeah.
And these ones over here look okay.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay.
And then he was kind of pointing to this. What was he thinking about there?
No, that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
So this should be good. We got to charge it with Freon, right?
Yeah.
Or not Freon, but
We're
what is
gonna
it?
put the vacuum on it first.
Vacuum on it first.
Yeah.
And then what's the next step after that?
Put in the freon.
The Freon, the coolant. What is it? It's called R4.
410.
R14. And so you have to unscrew those two little caps there, and then you've got two sides of this gauge. And so one is the blue side.
¿Tú trajiste la vaina para detectar el líquido? ¿Dónde está? Está ahí en la gaveta esa.
So that That's the red side, and the blue side's on the other. What's the difference between those two sides?
This one is hot. This one is hot.
That's the hot?
Yeah.
And so here you got to check the pressure on it, right? What are we looking for? So he's opening them both. Let's see a lot of movement on the needles.
So anyway, these are pressure gauges, and of course they're not going to show anything, but there's no pressure in there because there's absolutely no coolant in there because we just reestablished all our connections. So we've got to suck out the lines next.
So you just pull the center line off. And you're going to hook this on this side. All right. Now we got to hook it up to here. And this is the coolant in this pink thing.
¿Le he hecho refrigerante?
And it's a screw on it.
Así.
So that looks good. Now he's going to turn it. He's opening it.
En esta.
We're going to come back here and we're going to look at it.
Chequea, ponle no.
But, oh, that's to see if there's any leaks. So he's going to put some bubbly stuff on there. And that'll tell us if we've got any kind of leak. Interesting. And so they're only using a little bit of at a time because the Freon's expensive. Or not the Freon, but the coolant. But this way they can look and see if there's anything bubbling through that green, foamy, soapy looking stuff. Not sure what it's called. And we got the last one. And then there too. We didn't do the solder in that one there, but right now he's going to push some coolant through it, and we'll see what's going on. We took the cap off of that so we can see it pop out.
Beautiful.
He's checking everything too. He's going to put it all over it. We're just going to double check and make sure there's no leaks anywhere.
Dame el pinche.
He's going to put some down here too, I think, just to see. Because you never know, it could be going out anywhere. There we go. You're being very thorough, checking at all the possible spots where you could have some coolant leaking.
Está bien.
Right.
Vamos a poner el vacío.
Now he's going to go ahead and turn it on with that.
Vamos a poner eso ya. Sí.
Oh, the breaker, you want to make sure it's off? Okay. Right, so this stuff here is going to tell you if you got a little bit of a bubble, right?
Yeah. No, it's good.
And so it looks like we're pretty good, right?
If it's a leak in the bubble.
You see it pumping up. Now he took that little cap off of there.
Yeah, I got this one right here.
Yeah. So that, and that is just to check to make sure there's no leaks in that. When you put that cap on there, what does that do? It just caps it off?
This one?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna put this one right here. That's not wrong.
You got to put it back on, of course. All right, so you looked at all these other joints, and it seems that we're okay on them, right?
Yes.
And then over here, you check this, and it looks good too, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
All right, now we got to wrap up these lines. And then we're going to need some. All right. So this really doesn't, I thought this would take you guys a lot longer, but you guys did it pretty quick. All right, so we got to plug this into this little plugging thing right here. That's the electrical. Got to go in some way. It's 3 plugs, right? 3 holes.
No aguanta, papá.
There
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, espérate,
Yeah,
espérate.
you got it. That's the way. Like, I don't want to drop it out of And now he's
No,
got
no, 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 no. Solamente el del.
¿Cuál? Esto aquí.
No, no, eso se abre,
No, papi.
No, ese no va ahí. El que baja solamente el del compresor.
Pero no baja para abajo.
Papi, eso se ala para afuera.
Entonces tú dices esto.
Ese es el que va ahí. Eso yo creo que iba metido por acá.
Oh, I see. He's gonna go under it. That's probably a better move.
Ahora más roba acá.
And now what we got to do is we're going to wrap some of these wires so that they're not just flailing around in there. He's got a couple. Can you get your head out? Holy shit! All right, now we got to get this thing right on there without screwing it up.
Vamos a ver.
Key. All right, not bad. And this one here, just go in a little bit. That one there. Got to get this up behind that lip. All right, so we're getting there. So far, so good, huh?
All right, so now they're just putting the housing back together and bunching up the lines so that they can put the cover over that once we get it all done. And so they're going to screw all those little screws back in. So they did throw some coolant in there to look for the leaks, and now he's kind of bleeding it out. And then the next thing he's going to do over on the side is we're bunching up the wire and we're putting a tie around it, and then we're going to attach it to the housing that covers the compressor and the coils. And you can see it over here on the side. He's doing that right now. He's going to put a screw in there. We already got the tie on, kind of bunched them up right next to where the electrical comes in. And then the next step is we're going to hook the vacuum to the actual electrical contacts on that black block right there next to the capacitor. So that's the next move. So anyway, this vacuum that they have has two leads. So you've got your hot wire and your neutral wire, and they're going to go ahead and connect that to the actual leads that come in and where the electricity comes into the unit right here. And that's going to be hooked to the vacuum. And so they're going to draw electricity off of those two terminals that are right there, right next to the capacitor in that black block. You can see them unscrewing the two screws that lock it down. And then he's going to, see, there he is. He's kind of tightening it down, the one. And you got to make sure, of course, we did turn off the the breaker. Now he's connecting this middle hose onto that gauge, and then that's going to go down, and it's going to connect to the vacuum right on the side there. There's a little connector, and he screws that on there. And then the other two hoses that come off the gauges are the low pressure and the high pressure, or the hot or the cold. You know, there's a blue and there's a red one, and those are connected to both sides of those lines that you saw on the inside. And now he's just going to go ahead and turn on the breaker, and we're going to start sucking out whatever stuff is still in there. So they're vacuuming those lines out so that they're clear and they won't be contaminated with any kind of water or debris or anything. So this is going to take about 15 minutes. So I'm not going to bore you watching a vacuum, and we'll come back when that's done. So both of these are open, and they're connected to the system. They're hot and cold, or left and right. And this vacuum thing is sucking any of the liquid out. So once they've got all of the coolant that they put in there to check the leaks pulled out of there, they're going to go ahead and hook the coolant onto it and refill or recharge the coils. So that's what he's doing right there. He just turned it on. And he's going to come over here and make sure everything's working. Yep, we got Freon squirting out of there. And then make sure that these are all fully open, and just let it fill into those coils. So anyway, the correct pressure on the red side is 300, and the correct pressure on the blue side should be 135. So that's what we're looking to try to get on this.
Go inside and put in the thermostat cool on, cool auto.
Coolant?
Cool auto. Auto.
And as you can see, it says 82. That's the temperature in here. But I'm going to click on the set. I'm going to put it like to 71. So that should put a pretty good load on it. Make sure it's got Add Coolant Auto. And we're going to go back and check it out and see what's up. So anyway, he's applying this this green goo over here just to see if there's anything popping out of there. And you'd see some bubbles popping up if there was.
Looks like the fan's going. Yep, air's coming out of it, so it's going the right way. Now it's coming down a little bit. Not much though. The other one's not getting up there.
All right, and don't forget to put your caps back on. He's screwing them back on. There's 3 of them. Make sure you do that. That would not be good if you didn't. And just to snug them up, he's grabbed the channel locks and given them a little bit of a small twist. Not too much, just enough to get them snug.
What do you think? We're almost there at 300, 135. That's what we want, right? All right, we're looking good.
So we almost got it, but unfortunately there is a leak on the collar coming out of the condenser, and they noticed it, so we got to take the whole thing apart and fix that. And so that is a big problem.
Leaks.
So here what we're doing is listening for any hissing, because we can't get the pressure on there, so there's something wrong. So there's got to be a small leak somewhere. Right, so a quick way to take a look is just to unscrew the fan protector there and lift it up, and then you can get in there and look. And what we're going to do is put some more of this this gook around there and see if we can find it. And I do believe we have it. It's right here off of that pipe coming off the compressor, and you can see it squirting out right there. Definitely, there's our leak. So we found it. So now what we've got to do is fix that.
¿Qué hacemos?
So anyway, if you try to weld something that's under pressure, you're not going to have a lot of success. So they've already pumped all of this coolant in there, and trying to weld or to solder it with the pressure on that, and it's just not going to work. So he tried, but he failed. So we have to pull all the coolant out of here before you can do any kind of welding or mending or changing these pipes. It's just, that's the only way it's going to work. And this right here was a bad idea. I mean, they made a valiant effort, but trying to do this under pressure basically just ruined the whole pipe. It just gouged a big giant hole in it, and it did not work, because putting heat on there and the expansion is basically just pushing it out. And he's trying to weld it, but it's not. It's just destroying the pipe. So we had to go back to their shop, get another pipe, come back, and reestablish all those welds, and put brand new pipe in there, because this completely screwed it up. That was a big mistake on their part. And here you can see the coolant squirting out. I mean, it doesn't take much to see that thing's just been destroyed. That was way bad. See that? Look at all the coolant just squirting out of there. So really, what's going to happen is it's just going to all leak out right through there, and then they're just going to have to take that whole collar off and put a whole brand new line of copper pipe on there.